Traveling down a quiet path in the early morning Chernobyl springtime, I find some blips pop up on my wrist-mounted device that tell me that there's contacts up ahead. I don't know who they are or what they're doing, but I realize quickly that they are hostiles and that the only way I can really get past them is to open fire. So with my suppressed M4 with an ACOG sight attached, I quickly, within 4 to 5 minutes, take all the hostiles out and begin to loot their bodies, trying to find any extra ammo or any higher-end, not really so damaged AK-74s so that I can sell them at vendors later on. But there's something different about this time. There's something different about this loot that I was starting to feel as I was just going through the menus and dragging weapons over to my inventory. And that was that in my ears, my headset, there was a large bass sound, and I couldn't really tell where it was coming from. It sounded like it was up ahead, like up above me, like there was maybe like a monster that was above me or something, a mutant that was about to kill me. So I exit my inventory and I look up around and I'm like, where's this coming from? This sounds like it's coming from the sky itself. It's almost as if this sound wasn't just directly above me, but it was the entirety of the atmosphere just raining down this extreme loud bass sound on me. And then my wrist-mounted device tells me a radio update from a stalker base nearby that I need to take shelter as an emission is approaching. I've heard of these emissions before in the Stalker universe, but experiencing one for the first time is kind of terrifying. I've been exploring for about 3 hours now away from my home location, and I don't really have that many supplies. I have a lot of ammo in my M4, but I don't really have any medical, much food at all. All I have is a lot of vodka and a lot of AK-74 rounds. The sky begins to almost explode right in front of me, and I begin running towards whatever I can find that counts as shelter. I decide to take a left, as maybe something over the hill to my left has a building in it that I can go and hide in to hide myself from the huge blasts of radiation that are incoming. But then, attempting to cross this area that I had never been in before, I didn't really take much care to really find out that there was a pack of four-legged zombie things waiting to eat my flesh, and I fell to the zone. Restarting again, this time I decided that I would walk into a small mobile home, a small trailer type of building, and hope that that might save me. As I was hiding in this building, the large thunderous bass ran over me, and it was this extremely loud sound, and as this radiation wave was incoming, there's zombies in the distance with AK-74s still in hand that are trying to burst and just like full auto my position. And as this emission comes over and flies over, the trailer wasn't enough to protect me, and I fell to the zone again. On my third try, I tried running directly through all of the enemies and mutants that were to my right side. So this time I took a right on the road running past the T-72 and the BMP, and I ran into a lot of different zombie types and also a Bloodsucker. The Bloodsucker runs up to me and starts just grabbing my neck and sucking blood out of my neck, lets me go, and runs away and disappears right out of sight. Like, I can't see where he went because he literally just goes invisible right in front of me. So I just continue running. I'm just like, nope, this is not gonna work. Like, I'm dying. I'm on my last leg of life. I'm getting shot at. I'm getting attacked by bloodsuckers. I just need to run as fast as I possibly can. And by the moment that I'm about to reach what I think is safety, I'm at like the last leg of life. I barely have any health left in my bar, and I'm finally getting into what I think will be enough shelter to shelter me from this gigantic blast of radiation. Once I get inside, I take a first aid kit. I eat some food just to try to help myself get energized, and then I drink tons and tons of vodka. Vodka in the world of Stalker protects you from radiation, so at this point I'm trying anything to help myself survive, because I know that I will probably not be able to get back to this position again even if I try my hardest. And here my character is, a drunk Russian with an AK-74 in hand, just hoping that he won't get killed by a gigantic blast of radiation. This is good stuff. This is what I look for in video games these days. This is Stalker Call of Chernobyl. Now, some of you Stalker fans out there might have just said, what, Drewski? You just said Call of Chernobyl. There's not a game called Call of Chernobyl. There's Call of Pripyat, and then there's also Shadow of Chernobyl. So why are you saying them both mixed up together? Well, the thing is that this mod of Call of Pripyat is actually called Call of Chernobyl, and the reason is that it brings in maps, locations, weapons, creatures, all from the Shadow of Chernobyl game, and brings them into the Call of Pripyat game as well. And it additionally has a very interesting, I guess, game type, where it allows you to pick your own faction, pick your own location where you want to start off, and it lets you free to do whatever you want. Now, there are story modes where you can enable the story mode where it actually brings you on more of a linear campaign, but also there's modes like the survival mode, which is just, it replaces all mutants in the zone with pure zombie types of mutants. So there's just tons of zombies everywhere, and it's absolutely terrifying, and you'll die within the hour. There's the Azazel mode. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that, but that mode is where if you die, you get reincarnated into another body. So let's say you and your partner are out fighting in the wasteland and you get shot by a sniper. Your body goes down, you teleport into your teammate's body, and you live on in him. It's a really cool mode, and I've died probably 10 times in that mode so far, and so I'm on my 10th character in the game. It's really, really interesting because basically you die, but it's not as unrealistic as a save or like or let's go back and try another time. It's more like you die, you lose that character like throughout, you know. It's very interesting, and it's a really cool take on a game mode because you don't feel as if the game is fake. You actually feel immersed as if you're actually like teleporting to another person. Now, this mod was introduced to me by a YouTuber named Raycevick. He makes awesome videos, and he made a video called Modding the Apocalypse as a informational guide and review of the mod in the game, and his experiences, talking about how he modded the game, upgraded it basically, because there are things in Stalker that are very aged, like the weapon mechanics and the weapon sounds and weapon design. So he popped in Call of Chernobyl, which was a totally, you know, game-changing mod, but then he also added things like increased weapon damage and different weapon types and upgraded weapon sounds and basically mechanics to the firing and gunplay. And there's a lot of different mods that he added, and so I want to link his video in the description down below because he describes the exact mod list that I've got in this video as well. And he also makes a lot of cool reviews of different games, new and old, and he's one of the main channels that I really enjoy watching on YouTube. I guess the main way to describe Stalker Call of Chernobyl is that you're writing your own story. There's not really a storyline unless you're going into the story game mode, but you can write your own story by doing small missions, encountering enemies, and trying to overcome the odds, although you don't know what's happening around you. I think that's one of the most appealing things about this game as well, is that if you don't know what is going on around you, it's even more entertaining because it feels as if you're actually in this alien post-apocalyptic world and you just don't know what's going to be next. There's no tutorial, there's no guide, you just jump right in, you die a lot, and it's a lot of fun. The weapons in the vanilla game aren't quite good in terms of like graphics and also sound design, and so once you get some modded weapons in the mix as well, the game sounds awesome. You can hear gunfire in the distance, and it sounds like real echoey gunfire in the distance, and up close it sounds good and sharp, and every gun has a very iconic sound to it. You can tell the difference between an AK and SVD, for example, at longer ranges. And the enemies are one of the most important, and I feel like one of the strongest points in this game so far as well is that sometimes, although the AI can be kind of stupid and you want them to get out of a doorway or something, or they will run through walls at some points, there are moments when you really feel like you're in a lively world. For example, friendly stalkers around you, if you're in a firefight against other stalkers, will eventually, once the firefight kind of dies down, they'll walk over to the dead bodies of enemies or even their own comrades and start to pickpocket and loot them and pick up their weapons. And I've killed bandits that actually had multiple weapons in their backpack. I mean, I killed a bandit that had like 6 or 7 weapons in his backpack, and the sole reason he did that, or the sole reason he had those guns in his backpack, is because he had just been in a fight that I had heard about 10 minutes ago in the opposite side of this area, and he had looted every single weapon off of the enemies while his friends probably had died, and he was the lone guy left, and we killed him, and he had all of this plethora of weapons, and it ended up being a good day for my wallet in game. But also the enemy AI are very, very smart as well. You'll come across enemies in this game that you didn't even know existed. Some enemies will be able to telepathically do things. There's an enemy that can telepathically lift objects up in the air, throw them at you, and damage you actually very considerably with those objects when they're being thrown at you. I mean, he can pick up a gigantic propane tank and chunk it at you around 100 miles an hour. Some of the enemies as well can disarm you with telepathy. They can literally grab your weapon with some type of force and throw it out of your hands, forcing you to have to look down towards the ground to find your AK again or find your M4 to pick it back up and fire back at them. And while you're doing this, they put up a shield, and so once you have your gun up and ready, they're shielded and you can't shoot them anymore. It's a really cool system to be able to fight these types of enemies that you actually have to adapt to. It's not just like, oh, this enemy's heavier, bulkier, and slower, and more of a tank than the lighter and faster characters, so I have to maybe shoot him from afar or something because he can't move that fast. It's just not as simple as that. What's also nice about S.T.A.L.K.E.R Call of Chernobyl is that it has all those maps from the original games and all of the games in the S.T.A.L.K.E.R series. So you get to explore a lot more locations than you would just playing S.T.A.L.K.E.R Call of Pripyat alone. And this means that there's a lot of time that you can spend just in one area, and then you hop into the next area and it's a totally different location. It's a totally new world, and you have another 5 hours of time to go explore that one. Additionally, each one of these zones has their own features. For example, one zone might be a zone that's a very, very rural landscape, no buildings, not much at all, but then it has tons of mutants in it and barely has any humans. Some other locations can be towns where humans are staying, where large firefights happen because there's so many people there that there's got to be two different factions there, and therefore they start fighting. They start getting into real wars. There's areas that are more militaristic. There's big military bases with helicopters flying overhead, and there's always gigantic firefights. There's always going to be gunshots you're going to be hearing in the background. And then there's locations that are just dead. I mean, there's some areas of Pripyat that are just quiet, and Pripyat is an interesting place because it is just extremely quiet. You barely have any firefights there. At least I didn't when I travels there, but you can go in the same place twice and have different experiences as well. But for the first time that I went through Pripyat, it was just oddly quiet, and there was a few bloodsuckers around. There was a few mutants, but that was it. It was very, very scary because a lot of the mutants that were there were more high-end mutants, and I had to kind of dodge and run away from them. But it was especially just a quiet place when compared to, you know, some of the more militaristic zones where there can just be the largest of war zones happening. Everybody's dying. There's mutants attacking, and there's two factions, maybe three factions fighting against each other. Like, don't get this game if you want to play it to just chill at night. Don't get this game. You're gonna get jump scared, and you're gonna be on the edge of your seat every 5 seconds, I swear. No. Dang it. Gosh. Why? Why are there freaking bloodsuckers now? Whew. Luckily those are friends. Oh my gosh, dude. Can I just talk to you guys and be like, hey, oh no! Oh my. And I think that's what makes this game so special, is that it's so unpredictable, so unexpected, the events that happen in the game, and it keeps it fresh. Even though you might be in the same area, you can encounter a totally different type of firefight, totally different type of mutant, and there's some stories to be told just from the gameplay itself, and that's where it really does shine. This game is $20 on Steam, I believe, Call of Pripyat, that is. So if you're a fan of Metro, even DayZ, or any of those kind of Russian post-apocalyptic type games, definitely suggest trying out S.T.A.L.K.E.R because, whew, is it good. Well, hopefully, guys, you enjoyed the video. I will see you in the next one.